The Bluey series has already killed someone on screen. There's also an officially deceased character that the Healer sisters never got to meet, and there's a third death so well hidden that for years, no one was completely sure what the clues we're about to show you actually meant. So take a good look at these 3 gravestones. The first belongs to someone who disappeared from Bluey's family. The second belongs to a character Bluey tried to save and couldn't. But it's the third one you need to keep in mind, because it belongs to someone you've never seen, but who has always existed. Today, we're going to find out who is buried beneath each of these 3 gravestones. And we're starting with the most hidden death of them all, in Chili's past. So grab your popcorn and get comfy on the couch. Another Cinewave is starting. Mrs. Cattle. Our first clue appears in the episode Dragon. In this episode, Bluey is trying to draw a story with her family, but she starts getting frustrated because she thinks her drawings aren't good enough. And honestly, they really weren't. And that's when Chili remembers someone who almost never appears whenever the Healer family is together, her own mother, Mrs. Cattle. When Chili was little, she used to draw too, and whenever she thought she wasn't doing a good job, her mom encouraged her to keep going. So far, it just sounds like a sweet little memory, right? But there's something strange here. Because we know Chili's father, Mort. We know her sister too. We've even heard stories about the 2 of them growing up. So, where is Chili's mother? And this is where our first real clue appears. Bluey and Bingo don't remember ever meeting their own maternal grandmother. This is shown both in the episode and on the official Bluey website, which confirms that the main character doesn't remember her maternal grandmother. Think about that. To us, the character appears as a memory. To Chili, she's part of her childhood. But to Bluey and Bingo, this grandmother doesn't exist outside of their mom's stories. And there's a reason for that. Chili's mother is dead. Mrs. Cattle is the one who belongs beneath our first gravestone. But solving this mystery creates an even bigger one. Bluey is incredibly good at turning difficult subjects into meaningful stories. We know about the complicated moments the Healer family has gone through. But what about the death of Chili's mother? There's almost nothing. We don't know exactly when she died. We don't know how it happened, but because the episode is called Dragon, some fans believe it could have been cancer, since dragon can sometimes be used symbolically to refer to the disease. It's only a theory. It feels like there's a missing piece in the family's story, but there is something positive in the memory of Mrs. Cattle. Chili remembers her mom telling her not to give up, and years later, that is exactly the lesson Chili passes on to Bluey. In other words, Bluey may never have known her grandmother, but something she taught still managed to reach her granddaughter anyway, and that's the power of love. Now pay attention to this. The show talked about a dead person without ever having to show her death, right? But our second gravestone is the complete opposite, because this time there's no distant memory. There's no mystery about what happened. We see the victim. We see Bluey trying to save them, and after everything goes wrong, Bluey does something so unusual that even Chili tries to change the ending of the story, but it doesn't work. Want to see who's buried beneath the next gravestone? Bird. Our second gravestone is much easier to identify, because this time Bluey was there when the tragedy happened. In the episode Copycat, she's walking around the neighborhood with Bandit when she finds an injured budgie underneath a tree, and this is where the story changes tone really fast. It starts out fun, but suddenly becomes sad. Bandit picks up the little bird, they rush to the vet and Bluey waits there, but then comes the answer that most cartoons would never give you. The budgie had died. And just like that, Bluey proves how brave this show can be. There's no magic to fix everything, no last-second rescue. The little bird simply didn't survive, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And from this point on, the episode becomes even stranger and much more interesting, because Bluey can't stop thinking about what happened. When she gets home, the main character decides to play pretend and recreate the scene of the bird's death. In other words, she's processing grief. Bingo has to pretend to be the bird. Bluey recreates the entire rescue and the trip to the vet, but Chili tries to do what a lot of adults would probably do with a child. She tries to make the story a little happier by changing the ending. You wouldn't want the episodes of Bluey to be different, right? Comment the hashtag Bluey so we can get to know each other. Back to the story. Bluey realizes what her mom is trying to do, and she refuses to let the budgie have a happy ending. She wants the real ending, the one where the little bird dies. Now think about that. The main character just went through something sad. She could change the ending and save the bird, but she doesn't. Bluey insists on the real ending, because somehow repeating what happened is the way she finds to understand the little animal's death, and that's incredibly brave. And there's an even smaller clue here. At the beginning of the episode, Bluey clearly doesn't doesn't want to accept the death. She asks her dad in the car if the bird can't get better, but later while playing, she slowly starts accepting what no one was able to change. That's why this second gravestone is so different from the first one. Chili's mother died before the story we follow began, and her death stayed hidden inside memories. The budgie didn't. Bluey watched him die and deliberately chose to relive the experience. So now we've solved 2 gravestones, right? One belongs to the grandmother Bluey and Bingo never got to meet, and the other belongs to the little bird. But you remember the third one, right? The one that's been blurred out since the beginning. And talking about this one is much harder because there's no body. And for a very long time, there wasn't even confirmation that someone had actually died in the Healer family. The entire clue lasts only a few seconds, but it reveals a lot about an even bigger story. Yes, you may have completely missed the most devastating death in this entire story. Loss. Now we've reached the third gravestone, the heaviest and saddest one of them all. It's the hardest one to see because unlike the other 2, the show never actually shows us who would be buried there, even though we know who it is. The clue appears in the episode The Show. Bluey and Bingo are putting together a Mother's Day performance. The idea is to tell the story of Chili and Bandit, from the moment they met all the way to the family they eventually built. Pretty sweet. It all starts like just another one of their crazy games, until Bingo gets to the part where she plays a pregnant Chili using a balloon under her clothes. It looks like just another joke, but now pay attention, because what happens in the next few seconds completely changes the episode. The balloon pops. Bingo gets scared and runs away, thinking she ruined everything. Even though the focus is on Bingo, forget about her for a second and look at the parents sitting on the bed. Chili's smile disappears, and Bandit immediately reaches out and holds her hand. That's it. The show doesn't stop. Nobody explains anything. The feeling just hangs there. No character says what that reaction means. If you're watching Bingo, you probably won't even notice it, but Bandit and Chili understood something hidden in that exact moment. For a long time, fans tried to figure out what it meant. Why would a silly balloon popping make the Healer couple react like that? Why does Bandit hold Chili's hand that way? The answer turns a children's game into one of the heaviest scenes in Bluey. The shocking revelation that Chili lost the baby before giving birth to Bluey. And this wasn't just left as a fan theory either. Joe Brumm, the creator of the series, confirmed that the balloon moment points to Chili having suffered a pregnancy loss, meaning the pup was never even born. And before we keep going, we've got a mission for you. There's a new video here every day, so subscribe and hit the bell to stay up to date. Back to the investigation, let's look at the scene again. The balloon isn't just a balloon, at least not in Chili's memory. In the game, it was representing a baby inside Chili's belly. It pops. Chili's expression changes because she remembers what happened. Bandit holds her hand because he suffered through that loss too, and neither one of them has to say a single word. It's a memory that belongs to both of them, and we share that feeling with them. And maybe that's why the third gravestone in our video is so different from the others. In the Budgie's case, Bluey needed to talk about death. She needed to repeat what happened to get through the sadness. She even needed to stop Chili from inventing a happy ending. But with the lost sibling, the exact opposite happens. Bandit and Chili don't say a single word. The kids continue their little play while the adults understand a completely different story happening underneath it. And there's one more important detail for our investigation. You may have already heard the theory that Bluey is a rainbow baby, which is the term used for a child born after a pregnancy loss. But we need to be careful with this part. The scene confirms that the couple experienced the loss of a pup, but it doesn't reveal exactly when it happened. So this clue alone isn't enough to say for sure that the pregnancy happened before Bluey. And you know what makes it even more mysterious? We don't know who that baby would have been. You could theorize that it was a boy, since Joe Brumm once revealed on a podcast that his original idea for the show was to make the main character a boy. But that's only our theory. What we do know is that within the show, the character's name never even appears. In fact, maybe there never was a name. All we have are those few seconds of the balloon popping, the couple's reaction, a confirmation from the creator in an interview, and that's it. Revelations. But now we can finally go back to the image that opened our mystery, because the three gravestones are no longer blurred. The first represents Chili's mother, someone Bluey and Bingo never got the chance to meet. The second is the injured bird found on the side of the road, the one Bluey tried to save but couldn't. And the third represents the baby Chili lost, a loss the show managed to hide inside a game without ever having to explain it out loud. Three losses that represent death, but also three completely different ways of talking about the same thing. thing: cousins. But before we wrap up today's video, there's one last possibility fans have brought up, and it involves Brandy, Chili's sister. In the episode Onesies, it becomes clear that she desperately wanted to have a child, but there was something preventing that from happening, and that's where a really sad theory came from. What if Bluey's aunt had also lost one or even several babies before? The show has never confirmed that, but it's not hard to imagine considering how badly she wanted children. She may very well have tried and been unsuccessful more than once. Some fans believe her pain could be hiding a loss we never saw. If that's true, then the pain Chili felt may have been something her sister experienced even more intensely. But for now, this case remains unanswered. What we do know is that where there is love, there is life, and Chili's sister appears pregnant at the end of season 3. Today's case was a hard one to investigate, wasn't it? Good thing you're always here with us. The fun doesn't stop here. There are 2 amazing videos waiting for you on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.